Welcome to the Light of Sirio podcast. My name is Dori Fari and I will speak with a realized spiritual master about his views on life and the topic of spirituality. So here we are again to hear the continuation of Master Sirio's story. We are to conclude an important chapter of your life and spiritual life at the same time. Because in the previous episode we came to know that eventually, after your persistence, Master Kirpal accepted you to be initiated. He told you, come to Delhi and then I give initiation. So, how did you go to Delhi? Because as we came to know from you at the time, traveling in India was sometimes challenging and you had to take long trips. So, then from Subhashnagar, from Dehradun, you had to travel to Delhi. Because I suppose Master went by his car. And how was your trip? And then what happened there in Delhi?
So, there was a very lucky time in all possible aspects. So the trip was also a lucky trip. And the way I managed to go to Delhi was a very lucky something. So, among the Satsangis present in Manav Kendra at the time, there was an American aviator that was going also from Dehradun to Delhi. And for this, since it seems he earned good money, he rented a car with a driver, like a taxi. So he offered Roberto and me, I don't know why, Roberto and me, because they were Americans there. He could have invited Americans, but he invited Roberto and me to join in his car and go with him to Delhi. And I can say it was Master's blessing, especially for me. I don't know how it was for the others and how much they needed, like Roberto and the other man. That kind of safe trip to Delhi in a car. Because if you don't go in a car like we did, then what you have to do? Either you take a bus, which in India are always overcrowded, or you have to take a train, which in India are also very crowded. Especially at the time, I don't know if at the time existed any first class or second class. I was going by train in India when I went back home, so it was very crowded. So I suppose also the train from Dehradun to Delhi must have been very crowded, and mostly third class or second class, which anyway was never comfortable and always crowded. For the condition I was in, very delicate, because when you are in that uplifted consciousness, then you become kind of very delicate, like a rose, like the petals of a rose, and anything may affect you. Anything hard or harsh or violent may be like a shocking for you. So, in order to avoid these, Master, in my understanding, arranged for me to go by car to Delhi. So, we started off, and I was looking out the window, of course, because when I went from Ludhiana to Rishikesh, I traveled in the night, so I didn't see anything of India. But now I was traveling during the day, so I could see India, life, people moving around. And I was watching this reality unfolding before my eyes. And I began seeing so clearly that all what I was seeing was like the screen of a movie, of a cinema, on which a movie is projected. So I could see so clearly that this life that unfolds before our eyes is just like a movie projected by the light of God on the screen of life. So I was watching this movie unfolding, and for the first time I could see life with totally different eyes, with real eyes, I could say. And sometimes I saw some people along the road moving, because in India you can see many people walking and walking and walking, because many people don't have any money to travel by public means, buses or trains, and maybe they have to go for some documents, something needed in their life. They have to walk long distances. So along Indian roads, especially at the time, I'm talking 50 years ago, about 50 years ago in India, it was totally different than it is now. First of all, there were almost half the population which it is now, or maybe less than half. as far as I remember, there were 640 million people. Now it's more than double. So you could see many people, but not as many as you see now. Now India is really overcrowded. One may really wonder how they are going to handle it if they go on like this, having as many children as they are having now, how they may handle it, their life, in 20 years. Anyway, 20 or 30 years, or let's say 50 years, that will be double what they are now. So where do they fit? Anyway, at the time they were half what they are now. But still, many, many people all over. Anyway, I was watching this life moving in the streets, these people, and sometimes just watching them, they were not people just walking or doing something, maybe carrying something on their head or anything they were carrying with themselves while moving. But the whole sight transformed, and it became like a revelation, like a teaching, which revealed to me things very deep from about life, the mysteries of life. So these scenes which I was seeing in the roads, they were not just physical facts anymore, but they became mystical revelations. I don't know how to explain. For those who don't experience these things, it might seem crazy or weird, but that's how, at least in my case, spiritual revelations happen many times. And there was a time like this, because my consciousness was so clear, was so uplifted, that I could see the reality before the illusion. I could see the reality behind the illusion.
So interesting, this trip to Delhi sounds like a spiritual experience, just to participate in it, just to be part of it. Like
yes.
Observing life in its reality.
Yes. Because it was the first time I was taking a long trip after having this spiritual awakening. And for the first time I was really watching life the way I could see it with those different eyes.
How long did it take, the trip at that time, from Dehradun to Delhi?
Dehradun to Delhi is some 250-300 kilometers. But it took some 6-7 hours, because very crowded, very slow vehicles. And so in India you can never drive very fast, so you have to go slowly, and so it took some 7 hours reaching Delhi. So eventually we reached Delhi, and finally I could stay in the ashram. I didn't need to go to our hotel outside and then go during the day to the ashram, as I was doing in Dehradun, when I was sleeping in a hotel in Dehradun and take the bus always going to Manav Kendra. There I could stay in Savan ashram, which was not as beautiful as Manav Kendra at the time. Manav Kendra was just built and was wonderful. Savan ashram was in Delhi, old Delhi, and it was beside a canal, which was a dirty canal, and but yet the energy was just amazing. The energy in the ashram was very powerful, maybe even more powerful than in Manav Kendra, because Delhi was operating already since 20 years at least. So there was a history, there was many events happening there. So the atmosphere was very charged up, was very powerful really. It was like being in a cloud of light and spiritual power all the time. And so they gave us a room, and I was in the same room with this Roberto Casale. And there was Larry, I think, a Canadian boy that was initiated with us later on, and who traveled back to Europe with us. And another American boy. Was a nice boy. I think we were 5 people in the room. So anyway, I had my bed and take showers, have dinner, lunch and breakfast in the kitchen of the place, dining room. It was very nice, really. We were very nicely served by some satsangis who were cooking for us and giving us the meals, which was very delicious, pure vegetarian. And the cook, he was very nice. He was really a very nice, joyful man. When he brought the food, he always entered and shouted, "Satnam, dear brothers, Satnam, dear brothers, Satnam."
The Satnam cook, Satnam chef.
So anyway, we were seeing the master there every morning. I think 9 o'clock. We would go into his house, or maybe a bit before, but he will come 9 o'clock. He will come, give us darshan, and talk to us a bit. And then he will go, and we will meditate. We go and meditate.
But did Master stay in the ashram at that time?
Yes, we were going in his house.
Yeah, but
for meditation.
Because as far as I know, he wasn't always living in the ashram. Am I wrong?
No. When he was in Seven Ashram, he was always
staying there.
In his house in the ashram. Sometimes he would go out for doing his business, his spiritual business, his things, because he was always on the move, doing things, invited here and there, and busy with something. So sometimes during the day he would go, but morning and evening he was always there, and he was always coming for us, giving us darshan, some nice words, and then putting us in meditation and go away. So we had this in the morning, and it was just wonderful for me. It was such a joy to be there, such an honor, and good luck. I understood it like this, and seeing the master coming there and talking to us, and for me it was always so charming, and for me in my head I was always thinking, look, God is coming here now. Just watch God walking in a human body.
Well, this is very nice, the way you expressed that he was putting us in meditation. It's like, sounds like a loving father who, before doing his things, his business, he takes care of his children, and he settles them, and then, okay, then I go. They are all right now, they are taken care, I got to do my things.
So, this went on for a number of days. I think when we went to Savanashram, it was around the 12-13 of April. Mm-hmm. So we stayed some before the initiation, 10 days having this routine like this. Mm-hmm. And then we were also meditating in our rooms. After we left the master's house, we would go into the room and also sit there.
But how many could you enter in the master's house? Like, everybody was going, or only...
The Westerners only, and we were some 25.
Well, it's still a nice group.
Yes, it was a nice group. And there were some very nice people there. So, I was watching the master, the way he was dealing with us, the way he was dealing with his disciples. There was a girl from Germany. She was initiated maybe in 1972 when Master was in Europe. And after being initiated, she left the path and she didn't meditate. So she lost contact with the light. Whenever she sat in meditation, she had a hard time meditating. So she was telling the Master that number of times she was telling, please give me back my light. I find it very hard to meditate. My mind is restless, this and that. And Master kept encouraging her and like this. But sometimes he was also very harsh with her, because at some point she arrived at her last day, means before leaving, going back to Germany. So that evening she was kind of begging the Master to give her back the light. And he said, look, when you were initiated, you had an experience of light and sound. Did you? Yes, but then I lost touch with it. So for this you can't pay, he said. You have to work hard for it. Now to get it back, you have to work hard. If you have to go back to Germany, you buy a ticket, airplane ticket, and you go back. For this, you can't buy a ticket. So you have to earn it now.
Wow.
And do your efforts, your discipline in life, and then you will get it back.
Spiritual punch from the Master.
So she was weeping and kind of desperate. Anyway, there was something which I witnessed, how the Master may be sometimes very tough with the people. And I remember once there was a Satsang on Sunday, and there was not many people, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people.
Well, this is many anyway.
Well, sometimes there were 10,000, 20,000 people. Anyway, he came out and he was going up the dais, the steps up the platform, and I remember there was somebody, I don't know what he did, because also I didn't understand much of what they were talking about, because English for me was still a riddle. And I saw him turning back and shouting to somebody, telling something tough to an Indian somebody. And
also maybe he was shouting in Punjabi.
In Hindi, yes, in Hindi, yes. Yes, for sure, Punjabi or Hindi. Anyway, there was something also I witnessed. And then
how did you feel about it, that Master... I mean, because it is very true, everything which he said to this German girl, and it's really smart was the way he expressed with this example about the flight ticket and, let's say, reaching such kind. And also seeing the Master shouting at somebody, just before going to give satsang, and being in the process of beginning a satsang and shouting at somebody. How did you feel about it? Because I know, I follow the path for some years now, and I see that there are some people who are really delicate about it, how the Master should be in their mind, because to many people it's like the Master must be always very tender.
Yes.
So how did you feel about it?
A Master who is very tender always, he is not a Master. Because look at nature. Nature is not tender. Sometimes it's tender. You have nice days, sunny days, good weather, not too warm, not too cold, pleasant. Sometimes you have a storm. Sometimes you have such a wind that uproots trees. Sometimes you have hurricanes. Sometimes you have tsunamis. Sometimes you have everything possible. So, nature is not always kind, because that's not life. Life, it's a series of situations which are totally different, always on the move, always changing, and you have to adapt yourself to the situations. So also, a Master in interacting with people he can't be always kind, otherwise it doesn't work. Nothing good happens. A master has to be kind, has to be loving, has to be firm, has to be tough, has to be angry and shout sometimes to people. Because otherwise nothing happens. People just fall asleep in their quest for realization. So a master is the one who revolutionizes the thought pattern of the people by any means he can. So try to understand this. Otherwise he is not a master, he is a puppet. The master who is always kind, he is not a master. He is a what? Fake something. A weak something. Master has to be anything needed according to the situation. Loving, very loving, a bit not, tough, hard, and in all possible ways. So this is what I've been witnessing with Master Kirpal and with Sanji also. Sometimes he was very tough. And Master Kirpal was very human, I can say, because he had been a father, he had a family, and he could be very human, understand the weaknesses of people, their problems, their inability to act properly and to properly follow the path. But Sanji, who didn't have a family, didn't have children, he was kind of an ascetic and hard discipline, hard life, by his own choice, because that's what he chose in life, to live a hard life. He was born in a well-to-do family. He could have gotten married. They already arranged his marriage with a girl and live his comfortable life, but he refused. First he went on a war. He went in the army and they sent him on a war. Thanks God he was not on the first line shooting. He was a radio operator. But he was in the war. He came to Europe also with the Indian army, joining the British army. Mm-hmm. He told me that he was in Italy during the war. So, and he joined the army by his own will. So he joined this very tough life of a soldier by his own will. And then by his own will, he left his family in Punjab and he went to Rajasthan, in this Thar desert of Rajasthan, which when he went, it was very difficult life. Because just to have a liter of water, he said once in a Satsang, he had to walk 20 kilometers just for 1 liter of water.
Wow. Well.
What you do with a liter of water? But you survive at least, otherwise you die. Mm-hmm. So why you choose to go to Rajasthan and live such a hard life? Because he understood that Punjab had become very worldly somehow. Now, can you imagine in the 60s, Punjab very worldly? Maybe now it is very worldly. But at the time it was not. But for him it was too much. Too much of a worldly inclination, amusements and stuff. So he thought, no, I go to Rajasthan. And he chose to go to live such a hard life. But he was always successful wherever he went. So he bought a piece of land which cost nothing at the time, but then the water came with the canals and the land became very fertile, very producing, and he could build such an ashram. Anyway, going back to the Master Kirpal shouting while climbing the steps on the platform to this man. I don't know what he had done, but he needed it. So even in front of the many people who were there. He did it. And he didn't care what they thought. If they thought he's bad, he's good, he has done well, he has done wrong, he did it. So anyway, then he gave the satsang, and then I watched him walking back to his house, and there were two lines of people, one side, one the other side, and I saw him walking through these lines, and people throwing themselves on the ground and grabbing his feet, and other people jumping on the other people. It was just crazy. The Indians may behave when they are around the master like that. So all these things I was watching and I was learning. I was witnessing how life runs around the master like that. And for me it was very interesting, because I never seen anything like this. In Europe doesn't exist anything like this. The living guru and his disciples. You hear that Jesus had his disciples, maybe some very holy men in Christianity like St. Francis or some others, had this kind of relation with their people, but in this modern time I never witnessed anything like that. So it was very interesting to me to see a master and his disciples, how they interact with each other. So eventually, one afternoon, which was the 23rd of April, Master said at the end of our meeting in the afternoon, he said, tomorrow afternoon we have initiation, which will be the 24th of April. So we were very happy. We were 6 people to be initiated. 2 from Italy, 2 from Canada, and 2 from US. So very happy tomorrow, finally initiation. Actually, I didn't realize I had been already initiated. My very first meditation with Master Kirpal was my initiation. But I was expecting something even more special than that. Initiation must be something more powerful, something more special, I thought. So I was very happy. Tomorrow, finally, initiation. So the morning, thinking, this afternoon will be initiation, this afternoon is going to be initiation. And so I think it was supposed to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or 5. Anyway, we went into his house much before the initiation was supposed to happen, at least an hour before. If it was 4, we went 3. If it was 5, we went at 4. So we were sitting there and waiting for him to come. But an hour passed and he didn't show up. Another hour passed and he didn't show up. So we were very disappointed. And we were really sitting on thorns, all of us, waiting for him to come. Eventually at 7, he entered the room like it was nothing. He sat down there like if he had come perfectly on time. And one of the Canadian boys, one of the two, he said, Master, but there was supposed to be initiation today. And Master smiled and said, oh, sorry. I was very busy, so I couldn't come before. It's okay. We will have it tomorrow morning. Don't worry. Now, when I went in that house that afternoon, it was, as usual, very beautiful, powerful, but not super special. Nothing super special. Nothing very different than usual. Mm-hmm. But next morning, we were supposed to go at 9 o'clock in the house. So at 9 o'clock we entered the house, and I tell you, there was such an incredible energy, like electricity in the air, which was just crashing. It was so powerful that I felt like grind in my bones and my tendons and my muscles. And when I went inside, I thought, oh my God, how am I going to handle this energy? So powerful. It was so incredibly powerful. So I was trying to harmonize with this energy, trying to let it flow inside of me. And so then the master came. He sat in front of us on a sofa, and we're just the 6 of us sitting in the front. And the other Satsangis, those who were already initiated, they were sitting in the back.
So how many of you were participating eventually in the initiation?
All of the Westerners,
All of the
some 25 people.
Mm-hmm.
So we sat there, and he sat on the sofa, and he began talking. And of course he didn't understand anything of what he was saying. But this Jewish lady from Israel, she came, sat or stood beside me, and she tried to translate something that the master was telling. But I was so caught by this power and so caught by darshan of the master that I didn't even listen to her. And
well, also Roberto could have translated.
Well, he spoke some English, but not very good English.
Nice.
Also, he could understand something. Maybe he spoke English 60% or 70, maybe 60 or 70. Anyway, she tried to say something, but I was so caught by Master Darshan that I didn't really listen to her. But as soon as he began speaking, then he had this very warm, powerful voice. So I was listening to his voice, to the sound of his voice, and it became like captivating, something that made me very relaxed, very peaceful. And then this energy began to flow so smoothly inside of me. So at some point, he came to the mantra. So he began speaking out these 5 words that he was giving at initiation. And so we were repeating after him. He was going one word to one person, the other word to the other person, the other word to the other person, and like this it went on. So we were repeating, he was telling, and we repeated, trying to learn. And then he said, okay, now you go meditate in your room and come back in the afternoon for the practice. Mm-hmm. This was the theory, the theoretical part. Practical, we will do this afternoon. But now you go and meditate in your room. So we went out and we went into our room. I remember me and Roberto, and we sat in meditation. And to me, this mantra, these words, were like an elevator again, kind of. Like every word, as I repeated it, I felt my consciousness raising. And as I went on, 1, 2, 3, one after the other, my consciousness went more and more up. So I was amazed. I was so happy that, my God, this master gives such a mantra that is so effective. Maybe with others it was not so effective. I don't know. But with me, it was incredibly effective. So I just kept repeating, and wow, I went into such a ecstatic state. Okay, then in the afternoon we went back, and again such an incredible, powerful energy in the house, the room. So we meditated, and he had given us a piece of paper with written these 5 words.
Did he do it in the morning?
I think in the morning, yes. So we had it with us. And I had it on my lap, on my legs. I just placed it on my legs and I went on in meditation. And in my meditation, what happened is that I became the Simran. What does it mean? You become the Simran. These are 5 words and you become 5 words? No. 5 words represent 5 energies, 5 levels of consciousness. So, I had become those 5 levels of consciousness. That's how I can explain it. So, I was totally identified with the words. I was the words. And at some point, and this happened because I was supposed to experience something nice with this master. At some point, I forgot one of the words, the first one. So I felt like mutilated, like an arm of mine had been cut away, or a leg. Something very important of me was not there anymore. So what to do now? I had this paper on my leg. So I opened my eyes and I tried to read this first word which I had forgotten. But the master was just there in front of me, like he knew that I was going to do this. Opening my eyes. Because how could he be there? So he was just there standing in front of me. And as I opened my eyes, he just took the paper and took it away. So he closed my eyes with his own hands and put me back in meditation.
So you mean he put his own hand on your eyes?
Yes. And closed my eyes himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And as soon as he closed my eyes and I began meditating again, I mean, I was all the time in meditation, but anyway, I closed my eyes and I began trying to repeat the Simran again. This word missing came back by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt again complete and everything was wonderful.
Oh, this is very nice. It's like a special memory.
Yes. And there I felt so, I mean, to me it was a hint of an example of what is the master protection. That when you need him, he is there to help you. So I felt so rest assured. And I felt like a secret between me and him that we had shared with each other in front of these people who knew nothing about what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
So,
did you tell it to anybody?
No.
Not even to Roberto?
No. To anybody.
Well, now if Roberto listens to this podcast, he will come to know.
If he's still alive, I don't know. Anyway, so there was meditation on the light, then there was meditation on the sound. Both the meditations are wonderful. And at the end, Master gave those three helping factors and 3 retarding factors. So do this, do this, do this. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Okay. And then he ended by saying, from now on, if you want to progress spiritually, you have to meditate at least 2 hours per day. And I thought, 2 hours per day? What is it, 2 hours? I will meditate the whole day. That's what I thought. And the meditation was over, the initiation was over. We went back to our places. I don't know what happened later on. As a routine life as usual, dinner and whatever.
It was the 25th of April.
And it was on the 25th of April, yes, because it was supposed to be the 24th, but it was the 25th because things went this way. And in the morning, Roberto told me, you know, in Italy today is the La Festa della Liberazione, the feast of liberation, means liberation from the German
Liberation Day, yes.
Invasion that we had at the end of the last war. And so to me, he meant something.
Like you were liberated from the invasion of the world.
The invasion of the mind and karma and stuff.
So it's nice because in Italy it's always a national holiday.
Yeah.
So
it's
always celebrated the day of your initiation.
Yes, and also we always have retreats on this, for a week retreat, now starting from the 25th. So it's a very good way to celebrate my initiation every year, always, since more than 40 years. So anyway, this went on. Then we went back to the routine life, every day. And after a few days, Master announced that he was going to Kashmir. Mm-hmm. And now I understand he went to Kashmir at the time because in Delhi it was so hot. So he chose that time to move out from this oven, which was Delhi, and go up in the mountains in the cool weather. So he told us, to me and Roberto at least, and also Larry, this Canadian boy, he told, you better go back home now. You don't come to Kashmir. The other satsangis, some of the other satsangis went with him to Kashmir. Mm-hmm. But to us, especially, he told us, you go back home, attend satsang there, and just do your meditation. Just keep doing your meditation, he told me. So I was somehow happy to go back home because I really wanted to put into practice what all these blessings from God which I had gotten, and I really wanted to make them fructify and see where they would take me.
Well, I understand if one takes it like a book, it's like a first chapter which has some sub-chapters, but like we began the first episode like a spontaneous spiritual awakening which provoked this desire in you eventually to evolve spiritually, to find your spiritual guide, to conclude, to realize something spiritually. And now you did with this initiation. It was it's like a seed planted that brings sprout, and eventually now you could harvest the crop. So it's like you reached the target.
Yeah.
To make use of it.
I remember the morning we greeted the Master. He left on this trip by car with the other people. We went into his house and he came to me and he said, go back home and do your meditation. So then they left and we had some 2-3 days more in Delhi, and it was very hot. You couldn't move out of the ashram because it was like moving, like entering a oven.
Well, and April in India, in that area of Delhi,
no, May is the most hot month of the year in India, especially in Delhi. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's a wet, damp, hot, isn't it?
Not yet. It becomes very damp when the monsoon comes. Then it becomes really very damp. I've been also in June, July in India. So I've been in India almost all the months of the year. Then it becomes very damp. But at that time it's still very hot. Like scorching hot. Mm-hmm. And so at some point we took the train from Delhi.
How did you organize your trip then?
Well, we just went to the station, bought the tickets from Delhi first to Amritsar. Mm-hmm. Then from Amritsar to Peshawar, I think.
And how did you know the route? How you had to go? Did somebody tell you? Or?
Well, I was traveling together with Roberto, and Roberto had gone to India via land also. Mm-hmm. So he had gone with the train, the buses, like this.
He wasn't so lucky to meet Cesare.
No. And so we went back like this. They knew the way already. I mean, Roberto knew the way. Me and Larry, we didn't know, but we just joined with him.
And how this Larry arrived to India then?
I think he came by plane, but then he went back via land.
To Canada? Ooh.
He first came to Italy, and then I don't know, because I didn't see him anymore. He stayed when we were in Greece. I proceeded alone back home, and Larry and Roberto, they wanted to go on an island and spend some time there in Greece. So that's what they did, and so I separated from them. I took the train to the place where I could catch the boat, and then took the boat and went to Brindisi.
Again, back to Brindisi,
yes.
to your homeland.
Yeah. And then from Brindisi, I went to Lecce to see my relatives, and then I went from Lecce to Milan.
To your mom. Wow. So maybe now the rest we leave for the next episode, but
yes.
I am just thinking about your mom. How did she react when you came back from India and these things? But
she had no news about me or from me during the whole 3 months and a half. So she thought I was dead eventually.
Well, at the time there was no telephone, mobile phones and emails. And
I wrote a letter, I think 1 or 2, but she didn't get them. So she thought I was dead.
So she must have been very happy. So you will tell us
yes,
next episode.
I will tell in the next episode. My trip also from Greece to Brindisi, which was very interesting, with not even 1 penny, because when I bought the ticket, I ended my last penny. I just had enough money to buy the ticket to Brindisi, and then I was penniless.
Wow. So everything was a perfect calculation.
Yes, from above, not from me.
Well, it seems that things happened in a very blessed and miraculous way all the time, that you're always guided and taken care. So thank you for sharing these very special events. It's always, as I said before, like going back in time, and I just feel like sitting there together with you and Master coming and taking away the paper during the initiation and putting his hands on your eyes, closing your eyes with his own hands, and just like witnessing all these things. So thank you to make it possible for us to live all these beautiful things together with you. So next episode
You're welcome.
Next episode will come after 2 weeks, and as always I say, if anybody has any questions to send to the Master, which he will reply in later episodes, you can, or if you have anything to say about the podcast, you are most welcome at the siriopodcast@gmail.com. So may God and the Master bless you all, and after 2 weeks.